address the obvious.
Andrew and Caleb are absent.
Yeah. Well, are they absent or did we remove them?
They gone.
Well, 2 weeks ago, Caleb fell asleep.
Do you remember that?
Last week, Andrew just dominated. Thought it was all his. Had tons of content. So they're out. They're gone.
Heard it here first.
I'll make sure to let you speak more today.
I sent.
We're not worried about you talking a bunch.
In fact, that's more than I thought you'd say. Right there. We sent him to Montana for rehab.
We're going to need at least 1,000 words out of you today.
Sounds good.
Oh, that's 2 more.
1,000 words.
I think that's doable, isn't it?
He can do it. He's got 1,000 words in him.
Totally.
We should probably be quiet and let him go.
Barely.
Oh, he's got 6 down.
The gift of succinct conversation. We are going to do 2 studies today. We're rolling towards Easter, and our schedules are going to change. They're getting a little confusing.
It's going to get crazy.
I'll be gone part of next week. I'm going to Montana. I'll be banished.
Rehab.
Rehab.
Oh, jeez.
Woo, you're on a roll today.
7 words.
Wow, so succinct and so. Then Easter's coming, so we're plowing through these face-to-face stories, jumping all over John.
You want to share the news first?
What is it? Is it breaking news?
Well, I mean, it is.
What is it?
Do you remember what it is?
I guess not.
What day is it?
It's not April Fool's.
No. It's Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's here to stay.
Oh, the service is on Thursday?
That thing we've been doing for 5 weeks.
It's not breaking news. We decided that on Monday.
Yeah, they don't know that.
Yeah, we're gonna keep having Thursday night services past Easter.
Charging on.
So we need some volunteers to step up and make that a regular part of their service. I think there are people out there that would understand. We seem to be reaching people that aren't coming on Sunday for whatever the reason is, and I think our average attendance has been over 250.
258.
Yeah, and most significantly, I think I counted, was it 11 families that started attending Christ Church just in the last 3 weeks on Thursday night. So 11 families.
We did a survey last Thursday night, and out of that, the people who were here just that night, 11 new families.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's significant.
Mm-hmm.
11 families. So it's we're gonna keep rolling ahead. We're making some plans, doing some tweaking to staffing and things of that nature, because it's a big commitment.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the long haul. Sustainability of this is going to require us to prepare. But I think the opportunity for reaching people is it's fantastic, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we would all agree that nobody expected that type of response.
No, not long term.
Right.
Because we did 3 weeks. That's not long term. But
right.
I thought the first night, everybody, Roger's going to come.
I don't think Roger was here. He was from Montana.
He was. Was he?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Has Roger been here on Thursday night yet?
He has not. And you're going to make him feel bad about it right now.
I thought he was committed.
Yeah. He's going to feel terrible.
No, he won't. He knows we love him. But, it's just the opportunity to reach a new group of people. I think it's a combination of things. And you guys, I don't know, it's all speculative, trying to figure out from conversations why people are choosing it. But it's like it's not as formal as going on a Sunday morning to church. So a lot of folks are trying church out again.
Yeah.
That haven't been going or
I met a family that said they hadn't been in church since COVID.
Wow, 5 years.
And they came on Thursday night because they were like, this feels like less intimidating. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. whatever the reason is, it's exciting to reach people who aren't real connected and to help them to grow. So, yeah.
I'm excited about it.
What do you think, Levi? You excited?
Yeah. It's in the evening, so I think a lot of people who are not morning people like the evening.
A little study this week reveals that the early church, I mean, I'm studying, we'll get to the story in a little bit, chapter 20, resurrection, appearances, they're in the evening. There may be more biblical precedent to get together on Sunday evening than Sunday morning.
Well, they had to work. I mean, Jews took they rested on the Sabbath, but in the Roman world, you had to work.
On Sunday.
Yeah. They didn't have a day off, a weekend.
So they came on Sunday night.
So you'd meet sometimes before work and
so Jesus
afterward.
shows up twice with the disciples locked in the upper room, and it's evening time.
I never put that connection together.
Yeah. So we just canceled our 3 Sunday morning services.
We did not do that.
We're going to go Thursday night and Sunday night.
Did you do Sunday night church for a long time?
My whole life, we went to Sunday night church.
Growing up?
It was called leftover church. It really was. It was just.
If you didn't take communion in the morning,
you got to take communion on Sunday night. If you didn't on Sunday morning, I don't know where the biblical philosophy of that comes from, but you had to go forward though.
So you shamed yourself.
We're shamed. So it was brought to you on Sunday morning. You sat in your row and we passed the tray, but on Sunday night you had to go up front. I had special prayer over you.
They really did?
Oh, yeah. And my dad, well, I know this, it impacted, because my dad worked 7 days a week for years. And so he would work on Sunday morning, triple time, got paid. That's pretty good, huh? And so we would go on Sunday night, and he'd have to get up and go up to the front and have special communion.
Huh.
did he own it or did he shy away from it?
He didn't care.
Typical Michael.
It's word number 15. That was his last.
So next week.
I grew up with your boys.
Yeah. Outspoken, huh? So let's get into the story. We're doing face-to-face encounters like all over the Gospel of John, and we did kind of an audible call on this one. Matt was having a hard time coming up with anything.
Right.
On what was it we assigned to you?
It was Revelation 1 through 3.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know why I did that. Well, it isn't strange. That's John.
Right.
Isle of Patmos.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I was thinking. I wanted to go see the Isle of Patmos, and so hey, let's do the study. So John on the Isle of Patmos, we removed that.
We
At
changed
least
it.
from this rotation.
Yeah.
And you
Stuck in the
chose
Gospel
to
of
go
John.
with what?
Lazarus, John 11. I love that story.
Why don't you just recap some things that you're learning?
Well, I mean, like the fact that, Jesus has, from your story that you're going to cover, he's left and he's gone down to the Jordan. He's 25 miles away. So a full day's walk. I mean, I think about the fact that you ever walk 20 miles in a day? I never have.
No.
I mean, the fact that they could walk 25 miles in a day, I mean, we're talking about him going uphill.
I mapped it yesterday. That's Route 1, I think, coming down out of Jerusalem.
Okay.
So the down route wouldn't be as bad. It's all downhill.
Right. This is
What
uphill.
1,800-foot elevation? Well, not when they leave Jerusalem, they go down. But it takes right at an hour to drive it.
Oh, okay.
But all day to walk it.
All day to walk it.
And not downhill because you're going towards Jerusalem, right?
Yeah, if you go back to Lazarus' house, it's
Uphill.
uphill
Mm-hmm.
all the way.
What's the elevation climb?
I think it was more than that. I
More
think
than
it's like
1800?
3,000 or
3,000
something.
feet. I think you're
Yeah.
right.
3,000 feet
Because you're going from
elevation.
you're going not just it's 1,800 from sea level.
Okay.
But we're going down below sea level
Right.
to where he was at, where he's
So we're
baptized.
roughly 3,000 feet elevation.
At least, I think.
We
And,
need to
you flatlanders
check
out
it.
there living in cornfields that haven't climbed 3,000 feet, I'm here to tell you
For
that
over
eats
the-
your lunch.
Over to 20 to 25 miles.
Just a steady increase.
Steady increase.
I mean, I'm sure there were,
Well, you know the
steeper
difference if
increases.
you're on your treadmill and it's flat versus what, 3 or 4?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
For 20 to 25 miles.
It's cool.
So anyway, he receives word that Lazarus is sick. He's died. And
Well, he's sick when he gets the
he's
word.
sick. He's sick when he gets the
Truth
word.
is, he's dead.
Right.
They don't know that.
They don't know that.
He does.
So, he gets word. You think about a day's journey from Bethany, where they live, where their house is. Day's journey. He receives word, day 2. And then John says that he waits 2 days. And then on day 4, he goes back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the process of telling the disciples, hey, we're going to go back to Bethany. Lazarus is sick, right? They don't understand. He says he's asleep. They think, well, like, oh, let him get his rest, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he's tired, I don't want to be woken up when I'm tired. Like, let him get some rest. We don't want to go back. Last time you were there, you remember what happened? Like, they tried to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably stay away. It's safer if we stay here. And I love how John says that Jesus looked at them and he's like, he plainly told them he's dead.
He's dead.
It's like, you imagine Jesus like, come on, guys.
So he sets aside his divine perspective for a moment and takes on theirs.
Yeah.
Because from God's viewpoint, death isn't an obstacle,
Yeah.
right? It's not. And the body may be dead, but the spirit never dies. And so that whole he's asleep it's a divine perspective.
Yeah.
Plus, it indicates for us that he knew how the story was going to end,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. You said something yesterday when we were talking about this story and that waiting 4 days, about how, from the Jewish mind perspective, like there's some thought to after the 3rd day, like it was officially over. But, he says in there that it's for your benefit that I don't go right now so that the glory of God may be revealed. But you said something about that 4 days and how if it would have been 2 days, would we have been talking about it to this level?
So I had a conversation with someone last night who had experienced a loss and they're grieving. And they shared, I want to be confidential and
Right.
respectful here, but they shared that they're tired of people saying God has a plan. Right? It's almost, we know that. He does. He's going to work things out. He's going to bring good out of the bad, all those kind of things. But this story indicates so clearly that it is true. He has a plan. But the thing that I shared with you that really I struggle with in the plan of God in this story is, so you're going to resurrect him on the 4th day. But Mary and Martha don't know that.
Yeah.
Right? Mary and Martha don't know that. The people who had gathered to mourn in Bethany didn't know that. And so they are experiencing grief over this loss of their loved one without knowing in 2 days it's okay, he's going to come back. I mean, if they would have known that, this would have been a totally different experience for them.
Yeah.
And I guess from a human perspective, looking at this story and through the lenses of grief, I know God has a plan here, but the difficulty we have is when that plan isn't what we want. Right? So for 2 days, they suffer the full agony of the loss of their brother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wrestle with the difficulty of that. The why that happens, I get why that happens, right? Because he has a plan. He's going to display, from their mindset, okay, this point in time, he's like irreturnable. We're at the point of no return in this story from a Jewish mindset. 4 days, he's gone. He's gone for sure. Think about, too, the element of the miracle needed here isn't just to reunite the spirit with the body, but the body, well, the ladies, his sisters say it. It's been 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
He's decayed, right? So the miraculous, what can God do with our bodies? Is he going to resurrect? He has to do that with Lazarus. His body has to be completely restored, not just his spirit returned, but his body restored. And I just think sometimes we got to be careful, even as Christians, knowing God has a plan, to just flippantly say that to people when they're suffering grief. Because sometimes his plan hurts in the here and now.
I found just being around people who have experienced grief, some of the best thing that I can do is just be there and actually not say anything. Because sometimes they just want your presence there. You know, I've been in several homes when family have lost kids or loved ones, and just showing up and being present.
Right.
You know, I mean,
but you want to make somebody mad at God, help them see that God has a plan, and the part of that plan is that their loved one is gone.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know that you can. This particular story, yes. Every story, nothing catches God by surprise. He knows all things are going to occur, right? But did he plan this? There's where I have trouble with the story. Sometimes tragedy happens in our world because it's fallen, it's broken, there's sin. Sin has consequences. It is not God's plan that we suffer and die. That's the devil comes to kill and steal and destroy.
It's not, and that's why I think in here, is it verse 35? Like, so if you keep going through the story, Jesus shows up, and I think it's interesting that both, he's 2 miles roughly, John says, outside of the city when Martha receives word that Jesus is on the way, and she leaves the house, rushes out to him, and says, "If you had been here." Like, whoa. I think it's a reminder of the fact that, like, God can take those type of feelings that we have.
He doesn't rebuke her.
No, he doesn't. And he doesn't do the same thing with Mary, who does the exact same thing. She says the exact same thing.
What does he end up doing?
Well, he focuses it back to himself. And to his purpose. Because, you mentioned the word why, and I think it's just natural as humans. We want to always know why. We want to know the plan. We want to know, every detail of why this is happening. And here, like in this story, yes, like Jesus does give a why, but it's for his glory that he may be glorified through this moment, and that God is glorified as well. But instead, also, so we do get a why in this story, but we also get a who. Jesus brings them both back to, okay, who am I? I am the resurrection. I am the life. And when you do that, you see that, oh, yeah, death is no longer an obstacle because that's what Jesus is coming to do. And that's the comfort in the story, is that death becomes now a doorway into life with God.
And what he does for Lazarus, he does for everybody.
I think like you just read it, but that question at the end in verse 26, when he says, "And whoever lives by believing," this is right after the "I am the resurrection and the life," "and whoever lives by believing in me will never die." Same thing for Lazarus, does for all of us. But then he says, "Do you believe this?" And her immediate reaction is, "Yes. I believe if you ask it, you're the Son of God. You've come into the world. If you ask it, it can happen." But then you see a unique side of Jesus here. I think it's in verse 35. It's the shortest verse in all of the Bible. 2 words. Jesus wept.
Yeah, so that's my favorite part of the story.
Yeah.
The theology is good. The conquering, the death, the hope of resurrection, all that's promised is good. But for the person who's grieving right now, that's all futuristic, right? How do I deal with the right now? How do I deal with these feelings, this heartache? Well, it's comforting for me to know that the God who's going to resurrect, the God who has the hope of eternity, Jesus, knowing how this story is going to end because of their heartache, weeps.
The Greek word there, I was reading the definition yesterday, and it said he sobbed.
Yeah. So he cries with them. And I think we need to know that. We have why questions all the time that we don't get answers to. Like you said, this time they do, but we don't always get an answer of why. But we do get a Savior who weeps with us.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that like when you weep, he weeps. I mean, that's a side of him that brings a whole lot of comfort in tragedy. But it's hard to see it.
Mm-hmm. Any questions you want answered about this story? You haven't preached this sermon yet, obviously.
I haven't.
Have you written it yet?
I mean, this is such a good story. I've known this, you know what I mean? I could preach it whenever. But refining is the challenge where I'm at right now. But I was just reading this thinking to myself, if I'm Lazarus, I've been gone for 4 days. In the presence of God for 4 days. Do I want to come back?
No.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you roll the stone away, call my name, Lazarus, come forth, and I'm like, excuse me? I mean, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And so I just wonder, like, you know, this is 2 weeks before the cross. So Jesus, in that last week, goes from Jerusalem to Bethany. He's staying in Lazarus' house. Like, what were those conversations like?
Absolutely.
Like, hey, what'd you experience? What was it like?
Who'd you talk to?
Yeah. Like, did you want to come back? Nope. I mean, I don't know.
I get it. There's some humorous elements in this pretty intense story. And I think I haven't figured out the point yet, but there's a contrast between Jesus and his exiting the grave clothes and then being neatly folded and piled and all that, resurrecting himself versus the calling out of Lazarus here, and the fact that he comes out in his grave clothes and they have to unwind him, which is a hilarious image to contemplate.
Is he hopping out of the grave?
He's hopping, man. He's
Yes.
hopping and rolling because he can't walk. He's tied up. He's bound by that. He's resurrected. Jesus resurrects. Maybe that's a distinction to be made.
I don't know. This may be reading too much into it, but
That's what we do here.
because we're still pre-cross and resurrection, like he is still bound by death. But ultimately, when Jesus resurrects, he's no longer bound by death. And so he's able to neatly fold the clothes. I don't know. You said bound, and it kind of sparked that picture in my mind of like Lazarus is still, pre-cross resurrection.
I think there's another humorous element to this whole deal is, the next time he gets sick, even if it's just a little fever or something from, some virus or something. Oh, here we go again. But I know how this ends, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Because he dies again.
Yeah.
He dies again,
Mm-hmm.
which is wild
Yeah.
to contemplate. Been here, done that. One of the few people that can enter into death without the fear of the unknown. Walked through this experience before. It's kind of neat to think about.
Such a cool story.
With Jesus, the intensity of the hatred is ratcheted up even more after this with Lazarus, because now people are celebrating. Whoa, this happened. It wasn't hidden. It's right there outside of Jerusalem. Lazarus is well known. 4 days dead. All those things are adding up, and the religious leaders are, their hatred intensifies here. Now even people are celebrating Jesus because of the resurrection of the dead. We got to kill him, and Lazarus too. They determined to kill Lazarus as well, which evidently they didn't do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, intense story.
You can feel the tension in John's gospel, really, I think, from chapter 8, when he makes that declaration that before Abraham was, I am.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it. Like, that is the transition point to this guy's got to die. And it just escalates throughout the remainder of the gospel.
So, if we went back to chapter 10, we would have, and you briefly touched that, we would have seen the conflict that Jesus and the disciples have in Jerusalem. He's teaching, he's doing, and then he calls the ruckus in the temple courts. A lot of disruption there, and so they want to stone him to death. Interestingly enough, it tells us at the end of chapter 10, he slips through the crowd. They're unable to get him. Like, what? How did that work?
Yeah.
He
did the same thing in the temple in John 8:58.
Yeah.
Slips out of the temple,
He's pretty shifty, I guess. I don't know. Well, it's just not time.
Right.
It's just not time. So it's interesting. That happens there. And so I say that because our next character is to talk about is Thomas. And so when the news comes to Jesus down by the Jordan that he's sick, and he determines, hey, let's go, tells the disciples we're going to go back. Lazarus is the guy who goes, okay.
Thomas.
I said
Thomas.
Lazarus. Thomas, thank you. Thomas is the guy who says, okay, but the last time we were there, they tried to kill you. And this is, to me, it's neat because we have 3 scenes of Thomas showing up in the Gospels where he's noted, other than being in the list of the apostles. And this is the first one. And here he says, okay, let's go. We'll die with you.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go die with him. So I say that to bring up this whole nickname that we've thrown around with Thomas now is Doubting Thomas. And I don't know about your thoughts, but
Okay, this is crazy.
doubting is not, yeah, let's go die.
This is going back to our other story. 3,960 feet elevation difference.
Almost 4,000.
Almost 4,000.
3960. Oh, wow.
But yeah, you're right. That's how I've always known him.
Let's go die. Well, Doubting Thomas, let's go die.
Yeah, I mean, in this story, it seems more, I don't know, loyal, maybe even courageous, of like, kind of sarcastic, but also at the same time, like, I'm going to follow you, and
Yeah.
even if we die, like, let's go.
So there is this nature that you find in that, this, I don't want to call it pessimism, but it kind of is. It's kind of a pessimism. Let's go die with him. There's a strong sense of loyalty and commitment there. That's an incredible statement of, I'm in. But at the same time, it's not let's go change their minds. Let's go overrun them. Let's just go die. Mm-hmm. Right. So the next scene is in chapter 14. That's the next time Thomas shows up, and he's just teaching. Jesus is teaching them, and he says, I'm going to go prepare a place for you. We love that passage. Our room will be yours. All that in my Father's house stuff, and he says to them, you know how to get there. And Thomas is the guy who speaks up and says, oh, wait a minute. We don't even know where you're going.
Yeah.
How can we know how to get there? We don't even know where you're going. How can we know how to get there? So he's missing the whole spiritual element of what Jesus says to him here. But I just like that element of Thomas here. He's probably the guy in the room that asks the question that everybody else is thinking but is afraid to ask. It's like, where are we going? How can we know how to get there, Jesus? We don't even know where it is.
You're probably right. He probably is that guy.
I never was the guy that would ask the question.
You were never the guy?
No, that guy looks dumb. just sit quiet in class and hope they don't catch you. So that's Thomas. Then the third one is Jesus has gone through the cross, the burial, and resurrection. And he appears on Sunday evening that first day to the disciples locked in a room for fear of the Jews, it says. And Jesus just appears, which I think we could do a side study. Probably not ready to do this, but Thomas's body is restored. Jesus's body is restored, but they're identified. They're known. I don't know that parallels what we're going to experience in heaven or not, because these are kind of unique stories. They're still on earth, but they are post-death recognizable and known. They're the same person. Particularly with Jesus, we see he's the same person, but he's different. He's not really different from who he was. He's different from what he showed them. Prior to this, he walks on water. That's not a normal human activity. So there's a little bit of godliness flowing out of Jesus. I'm talking in circles here. But he walks in the doors that are locked. He just shows up in their midst. And, of course, they're afraid. The women had reported that, they saw him early that morning.
Yeah.
But they hadn't seen that. Peter and John went, and they didn't see Jesus. They saw the grave clothes, that he wasn't present. But where is he? And now he shows up. And the first thing he says is, shalom, peace. It's beautiful. Shalom. It's not just the customary hi, but that, that peace greeting to you. And so he shows up in their midst, but Thomas isn't there. And the text tells us it's interesting that, again, we slam on Thomas.
For not being there.
No, for his doubt, we say, because he says to them, when they tell him about this, he says, well, unless I see it and I touch him, I'm not going to believe. I won't believe.
Think about it. That fits kind of the personality.
It does. It does. But the fact is they had seen him.
Yeah.
And 1 John 1:1 tells us they had touched him. I don't know if in this moment or not, but they had physical interaction with him. And so they have that experience that Thomas wants and says that he has to have. He doesn't get it for a week. That's the part, reading these, putting these stories together, I thought, well, where is Jesus for the next week?
Where's Thomas?
Where was he that night?
I don't know. Yeah.
Where do you think he was?
I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
But yeah, Jesus is definitely kind of mysterious in this time period. He appears and kind of disappears almost from scenes at times.
I kind of, Matt and I talked about this yesterday. One of the things you could speculate about Thomas is that he's just needed some time alone. This has been overwhelming. It's been intense.
It's been a week.
The grief is horrendous, and he needs to be alone because everybody grieves differently. I don't know if that's the case. He may just been out getting some groceries. Who knows?
Right.
But Jesus, I think if it's just an incidental situation, Jesus would have been fully aware of that. There's a message here. Mm-hmm. There's something. He arrives at this time knowing Thomas isn't there.
Yeah, it didn't surprise him.
Right. But there's a message that's going to come later. So Thomas, it's a week later. Here I am. Jesus does the same thing again. They're hiding, still afraid. He shows up, and it's kind of neat. Thomas, it doesn't say he even touches him. Jesus shows the scars, and he says, "My Lord and my God." And so we know John, as he's writing this story, that's what he's trying to communicate to us. Probably above all about Jesus is that he is God in the flesh. And Thomas gets it. So doubting Thomas is the convinced, convicted Thomas. My Lord, that's not new in their greeting, but my God, that's new. He's back from the dead. He's God in the flesh. So I think that's the coolest part of the story. He becomes a believer. But I think the reason for that whole dialogue was to lead to this next statement that John tells us, Jesus makes, and that is, blessed are you because you have seen and believe. Blessed are those who have not yet seen and still believe, which would be me or you, right? Because we don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
To see and to touch, to have a dialogue with Jesus. Wow, what an incredible thing that they had that opportunity. But blessed are they who have not seen. So how do we come to faith today? Because we don't see.
We got to hear it.
Faith comes through hearing. And the Spirit's presence,
right,
working in our life, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we don't see anything, but because
we don't see the wounds.
But yeah, we don't see Jesus physically, in front of us.
Wouldn't that help?
Oh, absolutely. Well, we say it does, but yet there were also many Jews that saw Jesus physically and still didn't believe.
That's crazy.
So,
how could you see a resurrected man and not believe? I know you're right. It's just crazy.
But we still get to see, I would say, like what the Spirit does, in our lives and in the lives of those around us. But yeah, by and large, faith is, I think that's going back to like the purpose of John's gospel is he's showing us all of these signs that Jesus is who he says he is, and that if you are willing to put your faith in him, you will experience life. And that's that's the goal of the gospel. And so, yeah, that's what faith is required.
I think the application for us is we got to go and tell people.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
gotta-
if we believe.
if we
gotta say-
believe, we better be
'cause
Romans 10,
they won't have faith without hearing.
right?
Right. Well, it says in there that Thomas, it's not that he says, I can't believe. He says, I won't believe. And I think that's where a lot of folks are today, right? They could believe. They either don't take the time to investigate the evidence, or they realize that if they believe, things are going to be different,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want things to be different.
Require them to change.
Going to have to submit humility before God in the flesh. You know, I'm not making the choices. I think it was Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins made the comment. This is pretty much blunt, crude honesty. But he said, if I accept He is Lord, it hinders my sexual freedom.
So he's unwilling to accept because of that?
Yeah, so he was pretty famous as an agnostic. He or an atheist. He recognized that if Jesus is Lord, I'm not. And I'm not ready to give that up. That's a scary place to be. But people are there.
I mean, how many conversations do we have with people who are like, I can't say yes to Jesus because if I do, I'm going to have to give this up?
Saying yes to Jesus is saying no to something else.
Yep.
Primarily me.
Yep. And
But
yeah.
But I can't bring myself eternal peace. I can't bring eternal purpose. And I can't conquer death.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that can. So I guess I'm choosing life here over life eternal if I reject him.
Why would you do that?
Believe in a lie.
Because people love the darkness more than they like the light.
Mm-hmm.
That's what John says.
Well, good stories, heavy stuff. Maybe gave you something to think about today. Thanks for joining us on the ReThink podcast.